we are at episode 6. This is an important one. This is the time that we put together all the vocabulary and we review the vocabulary that you've been learning so far this fall. Now, with episode 6, and proving that triangles are congruent and using CPCTC, the most important thing to remember is not to take too many big steps. In other words, when you're given a piece of information, it just gives you just a little bit or a little taste of what you have to do in the proof. So in other words, if you look at the example above here with the midpoints, it says that there's a midpoint. Now notice that I've marked up in the picture, I marked up the two sides that are congruent, and that's all. Just because it looks like there's a right angle there doesn't mean that there is a right angle there. So our work here in question 1 is just simply to say that there are two congruent segments, and the reason is because there's a midpoint. The word midpoint on the left-hand column in the statements will show up later in the reasons column when you're working on these proofs. And all that you need to do is tap into the definition of a midpoint and what midpoints make. Midpoints make two equal or two congruent segments. On the second question there, they're giving us just one fact, that there's an angle bisector. You can see that I worked ahead in labeling the picture. It says there was an angle bisector and says it was cutting angle ABC. So I found angle ABC, the yellow angle, and now I know that that is being cut in half into two equal pieces, and that's why I marked them with those red decorations there. So what do angle bisectors make? They make two equal or two congruent angles. And on the left hand side here, where the statements are, I'm going to record which two angles are the same. So the two red angles in the picture, angle ABD is equal to or congruent to angle CBD. Moving right into the last question on the front, this proof, maybe you've worked on it already. This is a basic framework of how long it takes to do. If you feel like you want to give it a second try now that you've gotten started, stop the video and try to work ahead. But now I'm going to show you the rest of the proof in detail. So I did it in 4 steps. The given step right off the bat is handed to me, but I did not label it yet in the picture. It says that they are bisecting each other. It doesn't say that there's an angle being bisected. It says that there's a segment bisecting another segment. So that's going to create two pairs of equal segments. I can jump right into recording that down right here in line number 2. I can say that SV must be the same size as UV. I can also add on that RV is congruent to TV. I could have done those as 2 separate lines, but I just did it all together as line number 2. And the reason is because segment bisectors do something. Segment bisectors make two equal, or you could say two congruent segments. Now, giving a peek at what I'm trying to prove, at the very top here, I'm trying to prove that there are two triangles that are congruent. So let me find them in the picture. SVR is one of the triangles. I'm trying to prove that that's the same as triangle UVT, this red one here. So why are the red triangles congruent? Well, I've got two sides matching up and another two sides matching up. I just need one more piece that can help me finish off one of my congruent triangle theorems. So to get there to the finish line, I just need one more piece, and there we have it there in yellow in the picture, that those two angles have to be the same. So angle SVR is the same size as the other yellow angle, UVT. Now, what's the reason why those two angles are equal to each other? Well, that's not something that was given in the beginning. That's just something you have to recognize from the picture. Those two angles are what kind of angles? They are vertical angles. Now I've reached the finish line. Now I know that the triangles are congruent. Did you notice something weird about the finish in line number 4? I hope you did. That was supposed to be to the left-hand side. It's always the statements about the picture that appear to the left. The right-hand side is just to explain why we know that is true. So that has no business being on the right-hand side. I placed that there just to see if I could catch you looking ahead and maybe criticizing my work ahead of time. And if you caught that, that was very good. All right, for number 4, the last reason would be what pattern is appearing in the picture. And if I blow the picture up, I can label the picture with what I know, that those two sides are equal, these two sides are equal, and these two angles are equal. If I cover up, if I cover up one of the triangles, the pattern should jump right out at you. So that pattern that I'm seeing there is a side angle side pattern. So that would allow me to finish up by writing side angle side here. Now the last question, part of this question, says to describe the rigid motion or motions that could take the one red triangle and place it on top of the other red triangle there. Did you get a chance to think about that? If not, think about it right now. How could you take the one red triangle and place it on top of the other? Would it be a reflection? Would it be a rotation? Would it be a translation? Okay, here's the answer. It would be a rotation. You'd have to actually turn the triangle upside down. You'd have to do a rotation of 180 degrees. And you'd be spinning it on point V at the center of the rotation, and that would actually put the one red triangle on top of the other. If you want to just visualize just flipping this upside down, that's exactly what would have to happen to make the one red triangle become the other red triangle. Right. Okay, moving on to the back of the worksheet, I'm going to leave this one up to you to finish. I'm giving you an idea of what I did to solve the proof, but I'm going to leave you with the rest of it to do. Now, I will remind you that if you see my picture right here, I did not label anything yet on my picture, and that's terrible. You should be taking the facts from the very beginning and placing them into the picture if you're going to have success working these questions out. So keep up the good work, and we'll catch you later, either on the internet or in the classroom.